The news begins with update on the hashtag NES30 update as the 30th Nigerian Economic Summit approaches. Regional and global leaders will assemble to tackle pressing economic challenges. Recently, Joe Hanson spoke with Ozofu Ogiemuda, NES30 technical subcommittee member, to identify the key leadership qualities necessary for private sector expansion.
Most important is a servant's mindset. If you believe that you are in a leadership position to serve, it just dictates how you behave and how you think. So what you're trying to do is, what is this office for? And how can I use this office to serve whoever it is you're serving? So if it's a company and you're the CEO, how do I, as the CEO, drive innovation and change, encourage and build my team? There's something that I've heard said, it's true in every country, but I've heard it said about Nigeria, which is we have the leaders we deserve. Like, the people are not behaving better. We are the ones throwing filth on the street, right? So we deserve the leaders. But I think it's actually two-pronged. I don't know that the economy can grow if everybody is well behaved and the leaders are not. And there is something about leadership. Signaling comes from the top. So I think it's both ways. So I think that if leaders have that mindset of service, then it will change how things are done in Nigeria.
Away from that to politics now, factional acting national chairman of the People's Democratic Party, the PDP, Yayari Mohammed, said he has assumed duty days after his appointment into the position by a section of the party's National Working Committee, NWC. Mohammed is said to have disclosed this in a statement on Sunday in Abuja. He added that he would be fair to all members, irrespective of their status, position, or state. Mohammed, who is the national treasurer of the PDP, was appointed the acting chairman by the faction led by the National Publicity Secretary, Debo Olugun Agba, on Friday after it announced the suspension of Umar Damagun, who has been acting in that position since 2023, and the national secretary, Samuel Ayawu. Now, PDP Governors Forum is said to have scheduled an emergency meeting for Monday to address various concerns surrounding the party's future. Meanwhile, the People's Democratic Party Youth Frontier has called for the selection of the party's next national chairman to encompass the entire North Central region, rather than focusing solely on Benue State. Speaking in Abuja, the group's national coordinator, Austin Okai, said the successor to former chairman Iyorchia Ayu should emerge from any state within the North Central zone. Okai criticized the concentration on Benue politicians, including former Senate President David Mark and former Governor Gabriel Suswam, urging consideration of leaders from other states, including Kwara, Kogi, Niger, and Nasarawa. He also highlighted the importance of a fair and inclusive process involving all key stakeholders from the region to ensure the party's unity and success in future elections. Joining us now on the news is Jide Johnson, a public affairs analyst, to help us unpack the development. Hello, Jide. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good day to our viewers all over the world. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us as well. Now, Jide, what would you say are the implications of Governor Bala Mohammed's push to remove Umar Damagum for the overall leadership structure of the PDP?
Well, basically, the fight in PDP has always been about the inordinate ambition of its members, either for the plumb price of the presidency. And whatever move we are seeing now is about the move on who becomes the presidential candidate of PDP in 2027. That's why the party has been bedeviled with one form of crisis. Even before now, you recall the various party chairmen that have been consumed by the outcome of presidential primaries in PDP. And the unfortunate thing about it is that it has not allowed Nigerians to enjoy the benefit of an opposition party providing alternative viewpoint and serving as checks and balances to the antics and the policies of the ruling party, which the APC provided when PDP was was the ruling party. So the larger picture is in Nigeria today, we don't have an opposition party. We have a ruling party that has a complete control over the polity without the opposition party providing the needed checks and balances that is required in a partisan democracy that we operate in Nigeria. And you could see that because the crisis that removed IU was as a result of people having presidential ambition. And the crisis that has bedeviled Damaguna is because some elements within the party want to have control over the party structure in order to determine the outcome of the 2027 presidential election. It's unfortunate, but overall, it's Nigerians that are paying for it because we require an opposition party to provide an alternative viewpoint to serve as checks and balances to whatever policies or programs the ruling party is putting forward.
Right. And how do you think the differing positions of the governors from various states reflect the regional interests within the PDP? What impact could this have on the party cohesion?
Now, you can't have democracy in the type of democracy we practice if you don't have the party system. So the party system is the foundation of democratic society, particularly representative democracy. Unfortunately, there's no party system. If you look beyond PDP, you look at the APC, and you look at the Labour Party. All of these parties, their respective national chairman were not national chairman elected in a convention. Now, the one for PDP is unfortunate in a sense that the national chairman resigned, and then you have the deputy national chairman from North acting. What you should have done is to have done a mini convention because these offices were zoned, but these offices were zoned for PDP, it was zoned to the North Central, which was later micro-zoned to Benue State. What you should have done is for them to have, for that zone to give you another nominee from that particular zone, agreed at their own zonal congress, and that nominee, whoever is nominated, is ratified at your mini convention to be the national chairman of your party. But the reverse is the case. You've seen that different interests will have come forward to say that the national chairman shouldn't come from Benue State. The national chairman should come from the North Central. That this process should be open to all states in the North Central. We should be the normal process and normal procedure. The office was not zoned to Benue State. The office was zoned to the North Central. So if you want to have a replacement, you must give that zone, everybody in that zone, a fair shot in order for them to have a say in whoever becomes the national chairman of that party at that level. But the various interests that we have, you have identified one of the principal character, and another principal character is also presently in government, is in the government of the ruling party, and he wants to have control over his own party affairs, even at the state level and even at the federal level. So it's unfortunate that that's the situation where PDP is in. And I tell you for a fact, it is as a result of PDP has not been in order. That's why we have not been able to have a vibrant, coherent opposition, which is needed for public governance in a partisan democracy.
So more often than not, we hear about the influence of Hanson on the political parties, basically, or the political party. What extent does this influence shape the decisions and the alignment among the PDP governors, especially regarding their support or the opposition to Damagum?
Well, PDP the destruction of PDP as a party started with when they brought them. Sheriff Modu Adu Sheriff to be the acting national chairman. Modu Sheriff was not part of the foundation member. The character you made mention of was responsible for bringing Modu Sheriff into their party. And then after Modu Sheriff, who was actually governor, he was in APP, then ANPP, and then later he came to PDP to be the national chairman. And then after he left, you had Uche Secondos as the national chairman of the party. Uche Secondos was not even allowed to complete his tenure before they brought in Iyorchia Ayu. Now, Iyorchia Ayu, don't forget, was part and parcel of the foundation of APC. So he left APC
Thank you so much, Public Affairs Analyst Jide Johnson, for joining us and sharing your thoughts as well, regardless the politics. Thank you for your opinions.
It's a pleasure to be with you. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. All right, we'll take a break from politics now to tell you that the coalition of pro-transparency civil society organizations have accused the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission of selective prosecution of corruption cases, particularly concerning the former governor of Kano State and now national chairman of the All Progressives Congress, Abdullahi Ganduje. Also, the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Limited, NNPCL, was accused by some other groups of mismanaging the nation's petrol supply regime. The group called for the resignation of the chief executive officer of the NNPCL over alleged incompetency and graft. Emmanuel Bagudu reports.
Speaking in a press conference at the nation's capital, Abuja, the groups accused the national chairperson of the All Progressive Congress, Abdullahi Ganduje, of evading prosecution multiple times. They say despite the Kano State High Court scheduling his arraignment on April 17, 2024, the ex-governor and his wife failed to appear. While expressing support for President Tinubu's effort to combat corruption, the group warned against undermining the current administration by refusing to submit himself to court summons to answer questions concerning his tenure in office.
It has been over 2,200 days since the dollar video scandal broke, and yet EFCC is still silent. The continuous silence of the EFCC, despite the monumental corruption allegation against Ganduje, despite the many petitions, the avalanche of evidences available, and protests from various groups and the Kano State government to probe and bring Ganduje to book, is no longer golden. It also negates its constant rebuttal of keeping sacred cows. The general perception of Nigeria now is that the EFCC, as it is, has abandoned its original mandate by becoming a political tool in the hands of the government of the day for eliminating political rivals and perceived enemies.
In a similar development, another group called for the sack of Group Chief Executive Officer of the NNPCL over mismanaging Nigeria's fuel regime. They say he has multiple questions to answer over the running of the affairs of the Nigeria's national oil company.
The hardship endured by Nigerians in their daily struggle for affordable fuel is nothing short of national disgrace. The corruption and financial mismanagement under Kerry's leadership are beyond excusable. Billions of dollars allocated to rehabilitate Nigeria's refinery have disappeared into the void, with no operational refineries to show for it. Time and again, Kerry has made grand promises about refineries rehabilitation, only to shift deadlines and offer excuses.
Both groups are urging the federal government to take decisive action and commence immediate investigations into these allegations. In Abuja, for News Central, I am Emmanuel.
Time for a break now. When we return, NFF considers Super Eagles repatriation from AFCON qualifier after Libyan airport ordeal. We'll bring you this and many more after the break. Many thanks for staying with us. Now to security matters. The Nigerian Air Force is set to acquire another set of fighter helicopters to boost its combat capabilities. 10 AW-109 Trekker helicopters and 24 M346 fighter ground attack jets make up the new aircraft. Recall that in June, the service said plans to acquire 50 new aircraft to strengthen its operations against armed gangs and terrorists. In a statement on Sunday, Director of Public Relations and Information, Nigerian Air Force Air Commodore Olushola Akimboyewa, said the Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Hassan Abubakar, along with officials from the Defense and Finance Ministries, were in Italy to finalize the acquisition of the jets. And let's stay with security-related matters. Troops of the 6th Division Nigerian Army, in collaboration with other security agencies, have launched a major crackdown on oil theft in the Niger Delta region. Now, they destroyed 37 illegal refining sites, intercepted 12 boats, 9 vehicles and motorcycles used to transport stolen products, and arrested 8 suspects. Over 230,000 liters of stolen crude were recovered. In Akuku-Toru area of River State, 9,000 liters of stolen automotive gas oil were also seized. Another operation in Eleme local government area led to the interception of 2 tanker trucks loaded with stolen crude. Now, several illegal refining sites were dismantled across the region, with over 40,000 liters of products recovered. The operations continue to disrupt oil theft and illegal refining activities. All right, we have Joshua Imarai joining us from the Federal Capital Territory, still talking about the NESG Summit 2024. Joshua, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
All right, thanks for joining us. And we can clearly see that you are currently at the NESG Summit. How is that going?
Well, it is going as planned with the series of questions, outside questions at the venue, where we've had questions on fiscal reform, questions on mortality, and the like. The atmosphere is getting intense. People here generally speaking into the venue of the NESG, and checks are being made. There's a suit going on in the main auditorium where the vice president is expected to be received and the like. So basically, it has been activity packed and everyone is busy doing anything or the other.
All right, Joshua, thank you so much for bringing us updates. Definitely we'll be circling back to Abuja to see what's going on with the NESG Summit. Once again, thank you. We're still talking issues in the oil sector. It's not the best of times for commercial transporters in Umuahia, the Abia State capital in southeast Nigeria, following the increase in fuel price. The astronomical increase in recent times means that passengers now do more of trekking, and the transporters are bemoaning their financial losses. News Central's Chinwe Ugeli reports.
This conductor has spent over 3 hours calling on presumed passengers to come aboard a vehicle to Arachuku with no success. This has become the present reality now in Abia State, as the number of travelers reduced drastically.
Since morning, I got motor, this second motor. But all before, by this time, I will up to this vehicle. But now, motor and passenger after due to cost of fuel.
The increase in pump price has affected the cost of transportation fares and has naturally discouraged many from traveling if it involves far places, and encourages trekking for movements within one's vicinity.
The passengers are not travel as before again. I know before Fumoteju. But the rush Anapa, motor nap. For this time, if motor po, I got 2-3 hours for another motor po. The thing when you can use
Leo to park it, no motor. You have a park it. Park motor and have one higher park. You have a joke of zero duanya.
Some now send waybills to their loved ones instead of traveling to save costs.
But before about 3,500, she about 4,000, but now about 5,000 naira. So when you check here, we can send their ass envelope.
The commercial drivers say their present predicament may not be unconnected with the high fares they now charge passengers due to the amount of their earnings they spend on purchase of petrol daily.
Okay. And this small car now, it consumes well full of 20,000 naira. How much do you get?
Yesterday, 5,000 naira. We anything in India, but every now.
The situation has equally forced some people to park their vehicles or even stop their transportation business temporarily because of their inability to meet up with their daily targets. The empty streets and roads of Umuahia say it all. Trekking has now become a new norm for people who would ordinarily board vehicles to their various locations.
Passengers are even photo muscular, some musculs, there's a Fanaga school, so how did you feel? Naga school, as of now.
The situation is such that the transporters who have remained in the business have resigned to fate despite their losses, only with the hope that passengers will patronize them somehow. In Umuahia for News Central, Chinwe Ugili.
Now, no fewer than 3 people have been killed in a multiple road accident in Amuwo Dofin local government area of Lagos State. The Lagos State Traffic Management Authority confirmed this on social media. It stated that the accident involved a tanker loaded with petrol, 2 commercial buses, a Honda Salon car, and 2 commercial motorcycles. The Lagos State Ambulance Service, Lasambos, were said to have attended to the casualties involved. Now, the Northeast Development Commission has announced an urgent review of the Alai Dam reconstruction project valued at 1.2 billion naira. This was shortly after the leadership of the NEDC observed the catastrophic effect of recent floods in Borno State. News Central's Umoru Kirawa completes the report.
This is the present water level at the Alai Dam that recently broke down, leading to flood disaster that devastated Maiduguri, Jere, and other parts of Borno State.
The floods have raised concerns about the dam's integrity and the effectiveness of the planned reconstruction.
You know, each contract carries some terms of reference, but unfortunately in this occasion we have some kind of a force majeure which affected or will affect both the contracts and other contracts as the case may be. So we're here today to assess what has happened after the flooding and see how it affects the general conception of the project and to devise some way forward to continue the contract as it is or modify it, as the case may be.
The NEDC officials are exploring enhanced engineering solutions and community engagement strategies to safeguard against future flooding while ensuring that essential water resources are maintained for local residents.
Kazinde kolonde njie samma gabade aba urzina piso kolonde songalunde sarumde sa dugbanze zona bana manin nji aloe zona koi.
Experts say the reconstruction of the Alai Dam project will help local agriculture and water supply, stressing that a robust reconstruction plan is crucial to prevent future disasters.
If you ask me whether there was anticipation or notice of this extent of flood, I would say no. But definitely we knew there was a problem, and it was a problem we are trying to solve. It was rainy season, as you know, and then water was there, so it's not easy to start. So it was 1.2 billion. Our project site was just the spillway, but now just adjacent to it, we have a new channel of water. That was a major problem. So, and it's just by the side.
We are committed to all these projects and other projects in the Northeast, and we are hoping that we can see a way to continue with this project. Definitely not as it is, probably in some modified way.
Comprehensive report of the extent of damage of Alau Dam, as well as the damaged Jere Baul Road project, is what the NEDC awaits to commence reconstruction. In Maiduguri for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
The governing Frelimo party in Mozambique has won the capital city of Maputo in a tense vote, widely expected to keep Frelimo in power. A vote counting began on Wednesday for presidential and parliamentary elections, with outgoing President Felipe Nyusi stepping down after the limit of 2 terms in office. His party's candidate Daniel Chapo won the Maputo with 54% of the vote. Independent candidate Venancio Mondlane, backed by the small party Podemos, obtained 34% of the vote, while Ozofu Ogiemuda of the main opposition party Renamo garnered 9.6%. Another mass shooting has hit South Africa following several people gunned down after the weekend in Orange Farm, South Johannesburg. Police are now investigating 7 cases of murder and an inquest after a tavern owner allegedly shot family members of a patron he had an altercation with. The tavern owner is alleged to have killed himself after shooting the others. Thank you for staying with us. Now, at least 4 soldiers have been killed and 58 others injured in a Hezbollah strike that hit an army base in northern Israel, according to the Israel Defense Forces, IDF. They added that about 7 soldiers have been injured in the Golani Brigade training base south of Haifa. Herzi Halevi, Israel's army chief, while visiting the base, said the drone strike was difficult and painful. In recent years, arrests for blasphemy committed online or in WhatsApp groups have exploded in Muslim-majority Pakistan. This offense carries the death sentence, and even unsubstantiated accusations can spark public outrage and lead to lynching. Blasphemy has become a rousing charge in Pakistan after the laws were ramped up in the 1980s when dictator Zia-ul-Haq campaigned to Islamize society. Now, an official involved in the prosecuting of the cases claims that not a single person arrested was trapped in any manner. And this is coming after allegations that the accused were honey-trapped. Their families hope for a fair trial because, according to them, the laws are heavily misused.
केस से लेकर अभी तक जो है बिल्कुल स्कैटर्ड हो चुकी है और सिर्फ हमारी फैमिली नहीं बल्कि 450 लोगों की फैमिलीज़ और ये फैमिलीज़ भी वो हैं जो हाईली क्वालिफाइड बच्चों की फैमिलीज़ हैं यानी वो ऐसे बच्चे नहीं हैं कि जिन्हें सेंस ना हो शाउर ना हो समझ ना हो दे न्यू एवरीथिंग उनको मामले की नज़ाकत का सब मालूम था बट ये कि उनको ट्रैप किया गया हनी ट्रैप किया गया
ये हमारे माशरे में एक सेंसिटिव इशू है बट चूँकि मुतासरीन आए हैं हमारे पास हम उनका मुकदमा अदालत में लेके गए हैं और एक फेयर ट्रायल अपॉर्चुनिटी उन्हें मिलनी चाहिए और बुनियादी तौर पे स्पेशल ब्रांच की रिपोर्ट है जो कहती है कि इसके ऊपर शफाफ तहकीकात होनी चाहिए और हम उसी रिपोर्ट के ऊपर रिलाई कर रहे हैं कि वफाकी हुकूमत इस पर तहकीकाती कमीशन तश्कील दे और ताकि जो तमाम हक़ाइक़ हैं वो सामने आ सके।
ये किसी रहम के लायक नहीं है जो ब्लास्फेमी की हुई लेकिन हम फिर एक रहम कर रहे थे कि हमने आज तक इनके कुछ नहीं बताया किसी को भी लेकिन ये चाहते हैं कि इनका हम सब कुछ बताएं ताकि लोग इनके पूरे खानदान।
And now to business news. Nigeria's federal government has generated 103.7 billion naira in revenue from the electronic money transfer levies in the first half of 2024. This is according to data from the Central Bank of Nigeria's Statistical Bulletin. This represents a 7.55% increase compared to the 96.44 billion naira collected during the same period in 2023. Electronic money transfer levy was introduced as a source of government revenue in the Finance Act 2020, which amended the Stamp Duty Act to tap into the growth of electronic funds transfer in Nigeria. Now, credit rating agency Moody's has upgraded Ghana's long-term local and foreign currency issuer ratings to CAA2 from CAA3 and CA respectively. Now, this is due to extensive debt treatment that has significantly alleviated the government's financial burdens. In a statement, it alluded that the positive outlook reflects the potential for liquidity risk to ease amid ongoing fiscal consolidation efforts supported by the International Monetary Fund. Now, South Africa's hosting of the G20 summit in 2025 will create huge opportunities for international travel into the country. This is according to Tourism Minister Patricia de Lille. According to her briefing, de Lille noted that international tourism spending contributed 95 billion rands to South Africa's GDP in 2023. Now, between January and August this year, South Africa saw more than 5.8 million international arrivals into the country, up 7% from the corresponding period in 2023. You're still live with us on the news. We go on a short break now, and when we come back, we take sports stories. Stay with us. Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, sir. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, sir. I'm struggling to unmute myself.
Okay, all right. All right, sir, could you please tilt your device down a little and then, okay, and then move it towards your right a little. No, the other way.
Left?
Yeah, tilt down a little.
That's my front. That's my front is showing.
You can just leave it then tilt down so it doesn't show. Yes.
Is this better?
That's better.
Okay.
Now to sports, the Nigeria Football Federation have considered pulling the Super Eagles out of Tuesday's 2025 Africa Cup of Nations qualifier against Libya. And this follows a frustrating delay at Al Abrak International Airport in Libya, where the team was stranded since they arrived on Sunday afternoon. The Nigerian delegation was flying to Benghazi for the crucial qualifier when their chartered aircraft was diverted mid-flight to Al Abrak. The unexpected diversion left players and officials stranded without any assistance from the Libyan Football Federation, which failed to provide transportation. In a statement on Monday, the NFF detailed the chaotic situation, explaining that the team remained at the airport for over 12 hours and that the fatigued and frustrated players have now resolved not to play the match. Joining us on the news now is Ufoma Igbamuno, news manager in Nigeria Info, Cool FM, and Wazobia FM. Thank you so much for joining us, Ufoma.
Thank you for having me.
An absolute pleasure. Now, you see the situation at hand. I mean, we all saw how it unfolded. What do you make of the Super Eagles situation in Libya?
I think it's quite unfortunate, but maybe not unexpected. So everything that's happening since yesterday and today, it's a culmination of what has happened since last week. So just to give you a little bit of a background, last week when the Libyan team came to Nigeria, according to the NFF, they didn't really give the NFF their travel details. So instead of flying to Uyo venue for the game, they flew to Port Harcourt. And that's like a 2-3 hour journey to Uyo. The NFF reportedly provided them buses and security. They didn't take the buses, but accepted the security. And then on the match proper on Friday, if you watch the game, you would have seen that they employed a lot of delayed tactics. Now, towards the end, you would have argued that the game was supposed to have about 8 to 10 minutes extra time. Unfortunately for the Libyans, they were losing at the time because Nigeria scored in the 87th minute, and then the referee decided to add just 4 minutes. That got them furious. So what has happened since yesterday, it's more or less, you could say, revenge for Libya. And it's not unusual. It's something that usually happens in African football. Unfortunately, this time, I think they've taken it a little too far, keeping the team or telling the team to divert to another airport midway, just when they were descending, if you believe the reports from the NFF, keeping them for 12 hours. Some have argued that's like a hostage situation. It's not ideal. I've just seen posts from Nigeria's sports minister, Senator John, talking about the fact that he had reached out to CAF and that CAF are actually looking at ways to ensure that that game goes ahead tomorrow. But the players led by the captain, have said, hey, we're tired, we're frustrated, we can't do this, and we're not playing the game. So as it is right now, we'll just have to wait for CAF, to make a decision. It's going to go two ways. It's either CAF would hand 3 points and 3 goals to the home team, Libya, if Nigeria insists, like they've said, they're not playing the game, or the game will possibly be rescheduled for, say, Wednesday, maybe in another venue. However it is, we just have to wait for CAF right now.
Okay, we also see that the NFF has considered pulling the team out. What do you think will be the consequences of that?
So basically, that's, what I just explained now. The NFF are backing the players. It was the players themselves who said, led by their captain, William Trustekong, who said, we are not playing this game again. So ideally, they were supposed to have landed in Benghazi. They didn't. Where they are now is about 3 hours to Benghazi. And the players say, hey, we can't make this trip by road. Know that there's been fighting going on in Libya. So security is a bit iffy. So the players are saying, no, we're not making this trip by road. We've been delayed for 12 hours. You've not given us, all the facilities we need. In fact, the NFF have even said they've tried to reach out to hotels. All the hotels have said they were given instructions by the Libyan government, allegedly, that they shouldn't provide accommodation for the Super Eagles. So the players themselves, led by the captain, said, hey, we're not playing this game again. And the NFF has backed the team. Even the federal government, represented by the sports minister, has said they are not playing that game, that the safety of the players is paramount, first of all, before anything football. Now, that's the decision from the Nigerian angle. It is left for the governing body, CAF, to make a decision. CAF can either reschedule the game to Wednesday, if the complaint, if the NFF has submitted an official complaint, or if we fail to make the game, CAF can as well hand over the game, 3 points and 3 goals to Libya. As it is right now, we just have to wait for CAF.
Okay, we also understand that the Libyan Football Federation has released a statement downplaying the entire situation and saying that it can happen to anyone. Is this the case of being guilt-tripped, do you think?
It's just public relations. Of course, the Libyan Football Federation is not going to come out and admit all the shenanigans that has happened since yesterday afternoon. But like I said, it's not unusual. It happens in CAF competitions, in club competitions, in national team competitions. It's been a recurrent decimal for as long as I've watched football, over 35 years ago on the African continent. I would argue that CAF really needs to put its foot on the ground, and try to curb this thing. Fortunately for us, Nigeria, we are not good at doing all of these things. We're very hospitable, We're very good at welcoming our visitors when it comes to football games, irrespective of some fans saying, hey, maybe we should treat some of these guys the way they've treated us. But for the North Africans, Libya, Tunisia, Morocco, Egypt, for a number of North African countries, it's historic. Anybody who follows football will know that what has happened between yesterday and today is not new. It's not unusual. The only difference here is that it probably has gone a little too far. And of course, the Nigerian government has waded in.
Okay, we see that CAF is still yet to react to this situation. Are we expecting any response anytime soon? Because this kind of puts Nigeria in a dire situation.
Yes, so officially, CAF is yet to make a statement, but the sports minister did put out, a post on his Twitter handle just about 25 minutes ago or thereabout, talking about some of the events and what himself and the Minister of Foreign Affairs, have had to do in terms of remedying the situation. And one of the things the minister said, in his post is that for CAF, at least with the relations he has had with them, they are looking more to Nigeria playing that game Tuesday, that's tomorrow, 8 p.m. or thereabout. So at least for now, the preliminary information we have is that CAF wants the game to go. Because if we're being honest, if that game is not played tomorrow, Tuesday, or latest Wednesday, then it becomes a bit of a problem. Because the Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers for next year, they're supposed to end in November. In about a month's time, the final 2 games of the qualifiers will be played. So the question will be, if it's not played tomorrow, Tuesday or Wednesday, at what date will those games now, will this Libya versus Nigeria now be played? So it's a bit of a conundrum. And I'm not surprised that CAF are still insisting, at least through conversations with Nigeria's sports minister, to ensure that the game goes on. But we have this conundrum now. The players are saying, hey, we've been treated badly, we're not playing this game. NFF has backed them. The Nigerian government, through the sports ministry, has backed them. So I don't know how CAF is going to resolve this, but we wait.
All right, thank you so much, Ufoma, for your contributions. And like you said, we wait to see how it turns out.
Thank you for having me.
An absolute pleasure. Well, that's all we can take on the news at this hour. But before we go, let's take another look at some of our major stories. Now, we told you that stakeholders collaborate for better economy at the NESG Summit. We also mentioned NFF considers Super Eagles repatriation from AFCON qualifier after Libyan airport ordeal. And finally, we mentioned that Mozambique governing party wins capital election. You can watch News Central live on DSTV, channel 422, StarTimes, channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I'm Blessings Musugu.